السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونؤمن به ونتوكل عليه ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلله فلا هادي له. نشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له ونشهد أن سيدنا ومولانا محمدا عبده ورسوله. أما بعد فقد قال الله تبارك وتعالى في القرآن المجيد والفرقان الحميد: أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم، بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. يا أيها الذين آمنوا قوا أنفسكم وأهليكم نارا وقودها الناس والحجارة عليها ملائكة غلاظ شداد لا يعصون الله ما أمرهم ويفعلون ما يؤمرون. وقال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم: كلكم راع وكلكم مسؤول عن رعيته. صدق الله العظيم وصدق رسوله النبي الكريم، ونحن على ذلك من الشاهدين والشاكرين، والحمد لله رب العالمين. We thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for the numerous blessings that He has bestowed upon us. We thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for our health and wealth. We thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for our family and friends. And most importantly, we thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for this deen that He has bestowed upon us. When growing up, we would listen to our elders talk about when they came here to America and how they would struggle to find a place, just any place, to pray Jumu'ah Salah. And when Ramadan would come, there were no Hufaz there, so they would have to import an Hafiz from another country and have Taraweeh like that. And that was the norm for quite some time. And even now, if you go to certain states, there is not a single Hafiz in the entire city or state. Our elders, mashallah, those that came before us, they laid down the foundation for what you see today. For example, they would hold, Quran circles with friends and family, even though probably wasn't nobody qualified to run the Quran circles, but still something out of the love of the Quran, the love of the deen, and the love of Islam, and the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala motivated them to have some type of Islamic gathering where the malaika would be present. And alhamdulillah, what we witness today is the fruit of their hard work and their efforts. Now, this right here will be a means of sadaqah jariyah for every single one of them. Many of them have passed. Some of them are still here, with getting older, have white beards, and you might not know them. They might quietly come to the masjid, do their thing, and then leave. But by Allah, they were the ones that laid down the foundation for all of the different institutions and the masajid that exist in your own locality. And mashallah, we see many masajid throughout the US. One way or another, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will allow these masajid, whether we assist or not, they will be built. And the question is, we have to think past that. After it's built, what are we going to do? This masjid is built, that masjid is built. The question is, are the masjids being used? Are the masjid being populated? Are individuals coming for salah? Are they coming for salah or not? Are they coming just for Eid? Are they just coming for a family, an iftar? Or what's going on? What type of connection do we have with this beautiful building? And mashallah, as Muslims, we have foresight, and we always think about the future. What are we going to do tomorrow, next year, next 5 years, next 10 years? What are we going to do? How are we going to progress? And I have no doubt about the capability of Muslims in terms of establishing masajid. No doubt about it. You compare 50, 60, 70 years ago and compare it to now. But what's the next step that Muslims need to take to progress here in America? What is the next step? One time we were sitting in Bukhari class with our teacher, and he said, he was mentioning a story that it was the governor or the president, somebody came up to him and they asked, like, aren't you worried about all these immigrants coming into America? So many immigrants coming. Every single year there's more and more immigrants coming. Whether they're Hispanic, whether they're Asian, whatever they're from Africa, wherever they are, there's so many immigrants coming. Aren't you worried about them? He said, no, I'm not worried about them. He said, you don't think they're just going to change the whole American culture? They're going to change everything. I said, I'm not worried about that. He's like, why aren't you worried? Because they're going to our schools. Right? Their kids are going to our schools. So we run our schools. They're coming, yes, they might bring an environment, they might bring, some masala, they might bring, something, but at the end of the day, they're still going to our schools. They're not changing anything. So, as Muslims, we can't be so naive to the fact, oh, my kids are going to the public school and it's a public school, there's no, interrelation between church and state. My brother and I, we taught in the public school. We know what goes on there. And I'm sure many of you have your kids have went there. You may have studied there yourself. But a lot of individuals who travel from overseas and never seen and sat in the school system here don't sometimes realize what actually goes on in the classroom besides the secular studies. How many times have we heard stories one after the other, just one generation later, their names are changing, another generation later, their iman is no longer present. No. Now, we made a conscious decision when we came here, or when our parents came here, when our grandparents came here, that we were going to raise our families in this non-Muslim country. It was a conscious decision. Absolutely, we knew what we were getting into. We're moving back from the comforts of our friends and relatives and our, quote unquote Muslim country, wherever you came from. But we cannot be naive to the fact that the public school system is not conducive to our Islam and our children's Islam. It doesn't matter how, quote unquote, free, children are to choose and you are to choose. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying everybody needs to get their kids out of public school and then do homeschooling or send them to Islamic schools. That's your choice. That's your choice. If you want to do that, great. Not everybody can afford sending their kids to an Islamic school. That's just not in everybody's budget. There are creative ways. Now, don't be too lazy. We're like, oh, I can't do it. So I'm just gonna send my kids. If they turn out well, alhamdulillah. If they don't turn out well, alhamdulillah, it was out of my control. They're your kids. Who else is going to care about your kids more than you? Who else is going to care about your kids more than you? If you don't care about them, then who? You think your teacher is going to teach them, the kalima? You think they're, Miss Jessica is going to teach them the kalima? Is going to teach? You think Mr. John, your gym teacher, is going to teach them some akhlaq? You're not going to get any akhlaq from them. You're not going to get any adab from them. Don't expect any of that. I used to see what they, It's easy for them to show a different face in front of the students, and then when we were sitting in the teacher's lounge, it was a whole nother world. It's a whole nother world what they would be talking about. Men, women included. I remember the gym teacher. He was the only male before I came there for like 20, 30 years. I asked him, why don't you sit in the teacher's lounge during lunchtime? He said, I stopped sitting there after 1 year. I eat my lunch in the gym. I can't hear those conversations. I can't listen to those conversations. Absolute no haya, no sharm, no shame, nothing at all. And I'll tell you one kind of interesting incident. My son was going to school, and this is preschool. This is preschool, and his teacher was Muslim. I thought, mashallah, teacher's Muslim in public school, alhamdulillah, it's gonna be fine. It's gonna be okay. I was naive, right? I said it's gonna be fine. Couple days, go by, couple months go by, they send out a message that they're gonna have a costume party. I was like, oh, costume party. Guess what day that costume party was gonna be on? October 31st. Huh? I went up to the school for a parent-teacher conference, and I asked, I was like, what's, I thought there was a kind of differentiation here between church and state. What's going on? I don't see you guys practicing Eid. I don't see you guys practicing Hanukkah. I don't see you guys practicing any other religion. What's going on with this costume party? Like, no. I was like, this is Halloween. What else do you want me to say? He's like, no. It's not Halloween. They're just, they're just dressing up. This is a Muslim teacher. And she had like a Hispanic assistant saying the exact same thing. She started laughing. She started laughing. She knew how much of a joke it was. This is our kids. These are our kids. Allah. You sometimes see what's written on the curriculum, what they teach, and sometimes everything's not written on the curriculum. You don't always hear about it, and your kids don't always tell you about what's being taught in the curriculum. They don't always tell you. Come home, how was school? It was good. Right? It's usually what they say to you, right? It was okay. It was fine. We had gym class, right? It was good. Well, besides that, you don't always see. Right? You don't always see. So that aspect of differentiation between church and state, that's more or less a joke. That's more or less a joke. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He addresses us. He says, Ya ayyuha alladhina amanu qu anfusakum wa ahlikum nara. That, oh believers, you got to protect yourself. And after protecting yourself, you got to protect your family. Okay. You got to protect them. Because we always talk about future, our youth. And what are we doing for our youth? Don't get me wrong, yes, we're building a masjid, mashallah, that's amazing. What else? Past that, what else are you doing? The kids are kids, they're not going to care about it. Fundraising and stuff like that, they could care less about that. What are you doing? How are you making Islam interesting? How are you making it fun for me? If all Islam is that you forcing me to pray, then don't be surprised if they leave the fold of Islam when it hits teens, when they become a teenager. So being a parent, that's a responsibility that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has blessed us with. And it's for that reason the Prophet ﷺ said, كُلُّكُمْ رَاعٍ وَكُلُّكُمْ مَسْئُولٌ عَنْ رَعِيَّتِهِ. That every single one of you is a guardian, and you will be asked about your flock. You'll be asked about those who you take care of. Whether it's your spouse, whether it's your kids, whether it's your employees, whoever the case may be, you will be asked about them. You have children, mashallah. Many people are struggle and try to have kids. It's not just, oh mashallah, I have kids, I have 5 kids. What are they doing? What are they doing? Are they associated with deen and at any cost? Do they have any deeni activities taking place in their life? I try to think of it like this: that if you were on your deathbed right now, and you have 1 minute, 2 minutes left, you start pondering, life really hits you at that time. You start thinking about, what are my kids doing? Are they going to be a means of sadaqah jariyah for me right now? Are they a means of sadaqah jariyah for me? Or is it just going to, just kind of go with the flow, whatever wind blows, I'm just going to flow that way? So we got to ask ourselves. I know it's America. I know it's a free country, and I know that you let them choose whatever they want to be. But you don't really do that. How many times have I seen, parents push their kids to become doctors? Don't get me wrong, I've got nothing against it. Push their kids to become engineers, push their kids to do certain degrees. That's great, mashallah. How about push them to become a hafiz? How about push them to study the deen? Same thing. We push them there. Nothing wrong with pushing them here. Encouraging them here as well. I'm not saying every single one of your kids needs to become an alim, hafiz. I'm not saying that. but at least having the fard ayn, at least having the bare bones necessities of Islam. And I want to talk about this for the last 2 minutes that I have. You take a look at the education system, and haya is just going to slowly, I don't know if you know if it's there, but it's from the public school system, it's going to go away even more and more. Okay, if you take a look at the public school system from in Illinois, this is I'm reading right from that kindergarten through second grade, they're going to be incorporating discussions on same-sex relationships, on cohabitating, on gender identity, on names of body parts, like the private body parts. This is in kindergarten. Remember when you and I were in school, they used to have like one health class in elementary, and you can opt out of that. But now, it's completely ingrained into the curriculum. That's kindergarten through second grade. Let's take a look at third grade to fifth grade. They talk about hormones. They talk about masturbation. They talk about hormone blockers, for transgenders and gender orientation and gender identity. This is third through fifth grade. Some of the discussions that they'll have, and I know it might be uncomfortable for you, for you to hear this. It's not something that I wanted to cherish. I want to talk about this in Jumas, but this is something that I don't know if all the parents know when they send their kids to the public school system, that non-Muslims are going to be teaching your kids this, when you as a parent would want to talk about this first. You as the parent would want them to learn from a qualified academic religious scholar first, before they hear it from a non-Muslim. They look at 6th grade through 8th grade. They start defining what sexual identity is, explaining the range of identities related to sexual orientation, whether it's heterosexual, whether it's bisexual, whether it's lesbian, whether it's LGBT, all of these things. Methods of contraception. These are all the things that, some of them I will have an issue with, but you have to first, as a parent, talk to your kids about it. And if you can't, then you have qualified scholars who talk to them about it. 9 through 12. What are they talking about? Talking about differentiating between the sex that was applied to you at birth, gender identity, gender expression, HIV, STD. These are the things. Now, and I'm sure many of you didn't expect that, but they're learning it from non-Muslims at that age. And they need to learn about it, I understand, but they need to learn about it from you as the parent. If you can't teach it, then you send them to scholars, and you send them to these religious institutions that can teach them. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala states, وَأَنذِرْ عَشِيرَتَكَ الْأَقْرَبِينَ. If you don't act as a nadhir, if you don't warn your own your own kids and take care of your own kids, then don't expect Mr. John and Miss Jessica to take care of them in terms of their akhlaq, in terms of their deen. So are your kids, let me ask you this one question and we'll wrap up with this. Are your kids receiving that same academic understanding of their religion just as they are with the secular sciences? I'll let you think about that. I got nothing against secular science. I studied college, I still went to university, taught in the public school. I got nothing against. But are you still putting that same importance on their academic understanding of Islam? So a take-home point is that, inshallah, that us as parents, we are obligated to teach our kids deen. And if you can't, you supplement with all the great youth programs that exist, with all the great Islamic schools and institutions that exist within the area. And point number 2 is, don't be so naive to the fact that the public school system does not have a neutral stance on religious matters. Their understanding of sex education has seeped into the quote-unquote public school system, and that's going to continue to happen. سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين الحمد لله.